Hey folks, it's Maxie here and welcome to another edition of TEW2020 with the AEW save. You join us today, our first episode of Dynamite, in this obviously two-part episode. We no longer have Dark, so we need to try and get as many people as possible on the main show. For 2021 we delve into looking at a developmental company, or maybe even a second show. I'm undecided on what I want to do at the moment, but those are two options we certainly have. But it's a good show. There's a few people that are maybe booked a bit longer than they should be, but hopefully that amount of time that they get showcased can, basically hopefully improve their overness. So we'll crack on into it, because obviously we've got a lot to cover. So as always, thanks for tuning in, it's much appreciated. And the usual, if you want to get social, you know what to do, and if you want to buy the game, check the description below. So, yeah, Dynamite, let's fucking do this. So we're at the Titan Stadium in California. We've got 9,459 fans in attendance. And we start off with Brandy Rhodes out, and she's explaining her actions of why her and Cody are now split. And she says she's got a surprise for Cody tonight. Her new partner will appear on Dynamite. So it's going to have Cody scratching his head. Who is the man with Brandy Rhodes? And we'll find out later on in the episode. Started off with a decent match. Pentagon, Rey Fenix in the opening match. The Lucha Brothers defeat Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela in 8:52, when Rey Fenix pinned Sonny Kiss with a Meteora. Sonny Kiss was a weak link, but I think this is an opportunity that they can't turn down. It's a great opportunity to face two good wrestlers, and Phoenix and Penta, the tag champions, a 72. And in terms of in-ring performance, you can see the gulf in class, so you hope that they two can develop from that. But the tag champions win again. We then have a matchup that saw Jake Hager and Sammy Guevara defeat Austin Gunn and Brandon Cutler in 6:26, when Jake Hager submitted Brandon Cutler with a Patriot Lock. Actually done a lot better than they thought it would, a 63 rated segment. Believe it or not, Austin Gunn and Brandon were just randomly put together. I had no idea of the excellent chemistry, so that's good to know. But it was basically using them as enhancement talents to give Hager and Guevara the simple victory. We then had backstage a heated confrontation with the Lucha Brothers and Cage and Fatu. They want a tag team opportunity, and they're going to try and make it a heel v heel match against the Lucha Brothers, but a 71 and a very competitive tag team division. We also have backstage where we see Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy say that Matt Hardy will be joining forces with them, and they are going to issue a challenge to the Inner Circle's Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager. So similar to being the Elite and obviously EW as well, where Matt Hardy's joined with Private Party. We're going to look to do the same here and pass on his experience to one of the possible good tag teams in the future. So a 57, confirming that they have aligned. Our Mayhem match was an extremely short match that saw Lance Archer destroy Michael Nakazawa in 5:28 with a blackout. That was a 43, so obviously that's why that's over. But they probably should just do a wild brawl, that doesn't seem to get the penalty. And after the matchup, Jake Roberts just talks to Lance Archer saying, "You beat this guy, just keep the wins coming. Cesaro's obviously a much bigger guy, but he's beaten many guys before. He can beat Claudio, I should say, again." Surprised JR doesn't make that error more often, using previous monikers for wrestlers. Next up we had a women's match. It was about to have a decent reaction from the crowd. In Subpar Wrestling, Nikki Storm gives Indy Hartwell an opportunity, and she defeats her in 8:02 with the Perfect Storm. That's a 55. Just showcasing Indy Hartwell, giving her an opportunity on TNT, and Nikki picks up the victory there. And she cuts a promo afterwards just saying it's good to give everybody opportunities, so keep stepping forward and I'll keep providing opportunities and matches because I'm having the best run and the best fun of my career. We then had a hype package backstage. It was Brody Lee with the Dark Order, Darby Allin, Stu Grayson, Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, John Silver and Priscilla Kelly. It's a 44 rated segment, and he just says, just don't fuck up like he's have done in previous weeks. Then the hype package for the Butcher, the Blade and the Bunny, which was a 27. And we had the Butcher and the Blade in tag team action, or 8-man tag action anyway. It was a decent matchup. It was Proud and Powerful and the Butcher and the Blade who defeated the Young Bucks and the Natural Nightmares in 13:53 when the Butcher pinned QT Marshall. Butcher was the weak link here, but I just felt like this 8-man tag was an opportunity for them to get a big win over a big tag team in the Young Bucks. But you get someone like QT Marshall who can take the fall. But 71 just shows how good a battle we have. I have yet to take away Brandy Rhodes from managing Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. Although, to be fair, in my defence, Brandy was the Natural Nightmares at the time. No, the Nightmare Collective with Awesome Kong and Mel, where she was a heel, but she was a face with Dustin and QT. So we were confused as well, not just in this game. But I'll get that amended, that's fine. Obviously, she will kind of not be with them, given what's happening with the story between Cody and Brandy. We had 6-man action, and it was a good matchup that saw the team of Brody Lee, Darby Allin and Stu Grayson, who defeated Cody in SCU, Kazarian and Scorpio Sky in 13:56 when Brody Lee pinned Cody with a running big boot following a turn by Frankie Kazarian. Darby Allin head and shoulders above the rest. A 63 rated matchup, not the best, but the reality is Kazarian was the guy that went with Brandy. It's not a massive feud. It's obviously two guys that are 36 and 41 or 42, but the game made it happen, so we may as well work with it. So change, 3 segments, and he is turning heel, which was a complete success. So Cody and Frankie Kazarian going forward. Kazarian beats him down with Brandy in the background laughing, gets a 75 on Cody. We then move to our main event for the evening, which was a superb matchup that saw MJF and Wardlow defeat Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega in 16:25 when MJF pinned Kenny Omega thanks to interference from Hangman Page. Wardlow the weak link, but this is what we need for Wardlow. Even though he's not over, him and MJF are competing, giving good matches, and the segments aren't being hindered by them. You know, they're probably going to gain from it technically, mentally, and popularity wise as well. So all in all, it's a benefit, and it shows that Hangman still isn't done with Kenny Omega. And we finish the show. Hangman gives his answer to Kenny Omega, which is on a 71 rated promo. It's fine, Kenny, I'll face you at end of the line. One stipulation, it's Hangman rules. So I'm leaving to wait to next week's, obviously the next part of the episode to explain it, or even a future episode. Hangman rule is basically going to be a cinematic match on a farm, or just basically around stables or something. So there'll be stuff where Hangman will be running about on a horse, try to attack Kenny, and Kenny will be running. Crazy, but you've got to use a bit of creativity. Overall, popularity again gets 23 regions, 75, which is not good for us in the UK because that is under the threshold of what would be required from ITV4. So I'm hoping we don't absolutely make an arse of that deal. Will Ospreay is loaned to CMLL, as is Marty. 9,459, drew good praise. And we can see here again, they're not too happy. Figures at 2.70. And Dustin Rhodes says that Indy Hartwell is charismatic. But we'll get there. I just need to find out and get back into rhythm with this save of what works and make sure if I need to start putting it to just main event judged on it, I'll just make sure I've made good matches on Dynamite. Because we are focusing on storylines, so we won't be making big gains in the US at the moment. That's going to stay the same, but across the world we'll slowly but surely, where we've got the YouTube deal, start pushing up in these kind of places. In fact, let's take a wee look. So 13 up in the US, pretty much. 6 up in Canada, so just a wee bit there. Small gains in Mexico. British Isles were way up than what we were at. Japan, just slowly but surely. Europe, 2 or 3. Oceania same, and India we're up by 2. So it's going to take a bit of time, but yeah, we'll see what happens. And that's just going to get deleted. So anyway, that's part 1, which hopefully you'll join us in a few moments for the next episode of Dynamite. So the second episode of Dynamite comes from Rockford, Illinois, and just under 7,500 in attendance. Now this one didn't really have much build to it, but you obviously have SU splitting up, so we'll just pretend with each other here that this is kind of built over social media. And the recently turned heel from the last episode, Frankie Kazarian, has a match against his former friend, Scorpio Sky, and in a bout that had good heat and decent wrestling, Kazarian gets the win in 9:48 with the Wave of the Future. So at 67, accompanied of course to ring by his new partner, Brandy Rhodes, and that's just building up a bit more tension, a bit more heat towards Cody versus Kaz at the pay-per-view at the end of the month. Whether it's going to be stipulation, I'm yet to decide, but got to build it up anyway, so good start. And the promos, just him taunting Cody with Brandy by his side, gives Brandy a wee kiss and all that, just to really wind up Cody, and that's a 67 promo. We then have another hype package for the Butcher, the Blade and the Bunny, that's a 27, and that leads up with some tag team action, a rematch from a couple of weeks ago, and it was about that had a decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling as the Butcher and the Blade continue their fantastic run in All Elite Wrestling with a win over Best Friends, the Butcher again getting the win over Chuck Taylor. The Butcher's still the weak link, but we'll push him as much as we can, and this resulted in a 54 rated matchup. Next up, we had a matchup that was decent, and we had Nikki Storm defeat Biddy Priestley in 5:46 when B was disqualified, when Awesome Kong ran in and attacked Nikki Storm. So a 64, obviously building up to a match at end of the line between Nikki Storm and Awesome Kong. So obviously the fans are going to be not particularly thrilled by B Priestley, but weird that this was a lack of psychology though. I mean, they're only wrestling for 5 minutes, surely they would be able to have the psychology to navigate that amount of match, but it is what it is, and it leads to the beatdown from Awesome Kong, Nikki Storm's biggest and most threatening challenger so far. Will Awesome Kong basically squash Nikki Storm like a bug. 58 for that. Next up, Hangman cuts a promo on Kenny, and it's a 68. Hangman saying basically that he's been getting in the head of Kenny Omega, and this is going to be like nothing anyone's seen before when they go for battle at the pay-per-view and Hangman rules. And he's just constantly taunting Kenny, just saying he dragged him along to elevate him to the elite level he's at. He was then in action against Colt Cabana, where he wins in 7:51 with the Adam's Apple. So a good bit of momentum gained for Hangman Page, a 65, and he had a 69 performance compared to Colt's 51. And after the matchup, Kenny Omega decides to chase off Hangman Page. He wants his hands on him, but he just can't get him as Page makes his getaway. And this feud continues with a 76 rating for that segment. Next up, we had a matchup that saw Luchasaurus win in 7:55. That was a 51 rated matchup there, so good stuff for the Luchasaurus as we continue to build him up. Then had a promo from Claudio Castagnoli, and he's just basically saying it's only a couple of weeks away, but Lance Archer, you better be prepared. I'm finally going to be unleashed to just show the world how great a technical wrestler I am. Probably the best pound for pound in the world, and you're going to witness that at the end of the line, and that's going to be the end of the line of your title reign. Next up, we have a hype package, and this is really just showcasing another matchup that we're going to see at end of the line. The AEW Tag Team Championships will be on the line to showcase the fantastic tag division that we have, as Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr., the Lucha Brothers, will defend against the Titans Brian Cage and Jacob Fatu, against Proud and Powerful Santana and Ortiz, and against the Young Bucks Nick and Matt Jackson. I cannot wait to book that, and I might even make it a stipulation. It's four-way tag just now. Might add in some ladders, maybe some tables, maybe some chairs. Who knows? But a 64 rated hype for that. This leads us to one of our co-main events, and that is not what you like to see. In a decent matchup, MJF and Wardlow defeated the Motor City Machine Guns in 14:28 when Wardlow pinned Alex Shelley with Splash Mountain. So building Wardlow up more as a threat here. He's a weak link. MJF with a scaffold fracture, or a scaphoid fracture. That sounds to me, I don't know too much about injuries, so that's worrying, but I think that's it for a long time. So that might put our plans up in the air for end of the line. We'll have to keep an eye on that. 54 has been obviously decimated by that injury, so we'll see the aftermath and the effects of that. Dustin tells us about it, and Chris Sabin got some heat. MJF cuts a promo anyway on Jon Moxley, and that's in 83. I won't really describe what the promo was about until we know the context of his injury. We had Private Party against Jake Hager and Sammy Guevara, and it was a bout that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd, and Private Party pick up the win in 8:42 when Mark Quinn pinned Jake Hager by a roll-up following a distraction from Matt Hardy. So the beatdown last week, but Matt is going to be the third man with Private Party, as we know. A 71 rated matchup between these two teams was really good. And in the end, it leads to Chris Jericho, Le Champion, still not got a face pack for some reason. And he's basically saying, Matt Hardy, you son of a bitch, you're going to get it from the demigod, or the demogod I should say. So, good promo there, but I'm looking forward to that matchup as well. 6-man tag at end of the line. Hager, Guevara, Jericho versus Private Party and Matt Hardy. Or Hardy Party, as they sometimes been called. Main event, it was a good matchup, and it saw Jon Moxley defeat Angelico in 14:22 with the Death Rider. Just a simple matchup, give Moxley the win, lets the crowd go away happy, and yeah, you get Angelico in a big spotlight. So a 76 rated match. 74, I think we might be getting kicked off of ITV shortly, but that's fine. Let me just focus on America, and in the UK we'll get probably a better time slot than we will for the ITV4 show. But overall, still getting pop elsewhere in the world, 23 regions, and we'll jump back to see how bad this injury is for MJF. I'm quite worried because I might need to change plans on the fly and give us a new contender. So MJF is out injured, let's click on it. For a few months, we're going to have to find a new contender for Moxley. And EC3's out for a month with WWE as well. In fact, I think he's been released at this point. No, he's still there. He was still there at the time. In fact, he was one that re-signed actually, pretty quickly. He's only out for 28 days. MJF, 2 months and 2 weeks. So he won't be back to March. Not ideal, but we can work with that. So ITV4 still unhappy, but it is what it is. MJF, obviously about that, and our viewing figures was a 2.47. In fact, there we go, we lost the slot with ITV4. I'm not actually as worried about that, because we're mostly trying to just focus on getting bigger in America. It's just going to be a case of how long it takes us to go over in the UK. But I didn't like being on ITV I just felt like give us something that's realistic, you know what I mean? I know they're on that in real life, but they're not asking for 77 rated shows. So we're ending a bit of a downer. I'm going to go ahead and try and see if it will allow me to navigate a new deal in the UK, and at the same time also get plans for the world title match at end of the line with the Maxwell Jacob Friedman injury. So by the time this goes live, and by the time the pay-per-view goes live, because I like to pre-book in advance, we'll know who the opponent is at the event. But if you've any predictions, let me know in the comments section. I'm intrigued to know who you think we could push in that role. And hell, it could be someone that you advise that gets a shot down the line. So thanks for watching, stay safe, take it easy, and hopefully I'll see you for the last 2 shows of the year. The go-home shows, and then we'll head into the pay-per-view, and we'll finish up with the Power 500 before we tackle 2021. So cheers for watching, and see you soon.